Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Michael Penn of the Shingetsu News Agency, and I'll be your moderator for today. We have a very accidentally timely event today. Wasn't planned exactly this way, but it's the way it turned out. We are discussing a lawsuit against Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit to Yasukuni Shrine, the one which he went to on December 2013 as Prime Minister. So what is this about? Why is there a lawsuit against a Prime Minister visiting a religious facility? We're going to get an answer to those questions and get a chance for all of you to find out exactly what this is about and what are the reasons. Now we have plenty of people up here at the front table, as you see. Two of them are guests who've come from China, and two of them are Japanese who obviously live in Japan. Sitting right here next to me is Mr. Lo Xian. He is a lawyer by profession from the Shanghai area in China, and he is one of the plaintiffs in the case. He basically has been on his own, and he has done research on issues like Japanese wartime activities in China. And the second person, beyond him, also our guest from China, is Ms. Wang Xuan. She is a researcher, and she's also one of the plaintiffs in the case. And she'll also be serving as our translator because she has the enormously impressive skill of 3 languages, Japanese, Chinese, and English. And the third person down the row is our first Japanese at the table. His name is Mr. Nasu Shigeo. And he may or may not speak a lot during this talk, but it's probably somebody you should know, because this man has been described to me as the world's top expert on Unit 731. So those of you who know Japanese history, it's a very famous part of World War II history, and this man is the top researcher. He does it on a private basis, but apparently extremely knowledgeable. And at the far end of the table is Mr. Yogo Kimura. He's a little bit shocked. He didn't know that he was going to be drafted into speaking today, but he is the lead lawyer on the case. And so he will address questions from a legal point of view. Now, in fact, we're going to start with Mr. Kimura because we are talking about the lawsuit. And so just to give us some basic facts and basic idea, what is this lawsuit, who's involved in it, what's it trying to do, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kimura.
Thank you. I am a head of lawyers of the lawsuit alleging Japanese government and Shinzo Abe and the Yasukuni Shrine. Prime Minister's visit in December 2013 happened, and we filed a first lawsuit in April at the time of Haruno Spring Festival at the Yasukuni Shrine, and also additional lawsuit in October, second lawsuit in October on the day of Autumn Festival. And the total number of plaintiffs in the distributed handout, it says 364, but actually it's 363 plaintiffs in total. The decrease of the number is because one person doubly sued in Tokyo and Osaka, so we have withheld for him. He is now only in Osaka's plaintiff. As an explanation, in Osaka also similar lawsuit is filed, separate from these. And these two proceedings in Tokyo were merged just recently, and now we have a total of 363 plaintiffs in Tokyo, including 38 Chinese mainland China residents, and 1 Taiwanese, and 1 Canada, and others, Japan, Korea, Germany, Hong Kong, Australia. And we have had the 5th oral proceedings today from 2 o'clock. And the hearing ended in 30 minutes. The court has showed a very authoritative and strong attitude to limit our activities. We have requested 6 hearings for the coming time, for the future, and also some hearings from expert witnesses. But court said all the allegations and reasons should be presented by the next hearing, only 1 hearing. We have asked each issues for each one hearing, the nature of Yasukuni Shrine and separation of church and state, and damage caused resulted on plaintiffs, and the nature of Abe administration and his conduct, thoughts. But court said we should do it at 1 hearing. So we are having a very hard time. So we have to file the next document by the end of September on these all points. We have to hear from all the plaintiffs what they feel and what their experiences are. So time is very pressing. So the issues, we have filed a lawsuit claiming that his visit is unconstitutional because this visit is against the separation of church and state. And we have also alleged that this visit will damage the plaintiff's rights to live in peace, and also freedom of religion and personal right to live in peace. So, as an explanation, the Yasukuni Shrine is the shrine built up in Meiji era by the Japanese government, and actually it's a military shrine. And it shrine enshrines the war dead as gods and glorify the war dead as gods. So this will be apparently a religious conduct for the to visit the Yasukuni Shrine and worship. So this is a special characteristics of Yasukuni Shrine, which is different from other shrines. This is a military facility. And I will stop here, and I will answer if there are any questions at the end.
Thank you. Mr. Kimura obviously will be answering if we have legal questions, but the other members are here more or less as plaintiffs and participants. Our only other speaker before we move to the Q&A section is Mr. Lo Xian here next to me. Today he gave some kind of testimony to the court, and he's going to tell us what it is that he said at the court today.
慢一点，然后我帮你翻译啊。
好的。刚刚呢，我们在这个东京地方法院101法庭刚刚作证过。那么作证的主要内容呢，是这个3点。 因为书面的东西呢已经交给法庭了。
我帮你翻译一下。We have just attended the fifth proceedings of this lawsuit at Tokyo District Court, Room 101, and my statement was included in the documentation submitted to the court. I orally made my statement in three short paragraphs. I'm going to read it to you. 你自己可以讲一下。
就是在世界历史上，日本对中国的侵略实施了史无前例的残暴行为。
你一段。
对，比如日军的731细菌部队，在1940年以后，在中国各地实施了细菌攻击，杀害了大量的民众。我的故乡在中国浙江义乌，就是他们使用蜀豫军作战的重灾区。义乌县城有310人因蜀豫而死亡。义乌附近的崇山村占总人口1/3的400人因蜀豫而死亡。
During its war of aggression, the Japanese army committed unparalleled atrocities in China. For example, the notorious biological warfare Tribunal 731 from 1940 conducted biological warfare in many places in China and caused a lot of deaths of the Chinese civilians. My hometown, Yiwu, Zhejiang Province, is one of the places attacked by biological warfare by plague fleas. And 310 people were infected with plague and died in the county town of Yiwu. And a village called Chongshan in nearby Yiwu county town, where 1/3 of the populations, about 400 peasants, got infected with the plague and died.
日本的侵略到现在还深深地伤害着中国人民，因此，日本有责任抚慰中国人民受伤的心灵。继而，日本必须深刻反省侵略中国的事实，并且应当长期的以真诚、持续的行为表明其再也不会侵略中国。
The memory of the war is still a pain kept deeply hurting the Chinese people's hearts. That's why Japan has the responsibility to help the Chinese people who got wounded in the war to have its wound in their heart healed. That's why Japan should show repentance over their war of aggression against China, and should act with sincerity to prove that it will never invade China again.
只要是中国人，谁都知道靖国神社是推动侵略中国的重要军事设施，特别是南京大屠杀等对侵略中国负有主要责任的东条英机、松井石根等的甲级战犯作为英灵合祭在靖国神社，更让中国人民感到强烈的愤怒。日本首相参拜有这种意义的靖国神社，就是否认侵略中国的事实，就是侮辱和伤害因日本侵略而伤亡的3500万中国人的野蛮行为。
In China, Yasukuni Shrine is known as a military institution to function for the war of aggression against China. Particularly, the A-class war criminals who were responsible for Nanjing massacre and the Japan's war aggression against China, like Tojo Hideki, Matsu Iwane, are respected are respected at the Yasukuni Shrine as war heroes. And the Chinese people get very angry at that. That's why when it's understood by the Chinese people that when the Minister of Japan pay visits to a shrine like a Yasukuni, it equals to negation of a war against China. And it's also an insult to the Chinese people of 350 million Chinese people, 35 million Chinese people who got wounded and died in the war. This is my statement, short statement, given orally at the proceeding today. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, and I guess a question for Mr. Nasu first. Mr. Nasu, he spoke of a plague that damaged his village. I assume that was bubonic plague used by the fleas.
だからプレーグを使ったと日本軍がそれについて説明をさせていただけますでしょうか。すみません、ペストのみを撒いたということについて。Should I translate Japanese? Nasu Japanese. どうぞ。ちょっと英語の翻訳必要だから。
当時の日本軍の細菌戦部隊、731部隊を代表とする細菌戦部隊が、中国各地で、細菌戦を実施しました。でこの中で、この、生物兵器、細菌兵器の中で主に使ったのはそのペストを感染させたのみです。
Unit 731 conducted biological warfare in many places of China, and one of the agents they used in the attacks is pestonomi ですね。is fleas carried with fleas infected with fleas carrying with plague germs.
ペストという病気はネズミがペストになってそれをノミが血を吸って感染してでそのノミが人間を刺して人間を感染させるという、感染のルートになっています。
So flea is a vector of the disease between rats and humans. So rats and humans. 簡単に言うとね、あんまり細かい説明すると、だからペストノミは媒体ですと言った私。
ペストノミっていうのは731部隊のオリジナルな、生物兵器です。
Plague fleas was invented. Could be called an original, a weapon invented by Unit 731.
でこのノミを使って、当時の満州それから中国の、浙江省とか江西省とか上海の、ある奥の方ずっと奥の方に散布しました。それで多くの、犠牲者を、出しています。
Yeah, it is known that the Unit 7, it proved that Unit 731 once spread plague fleas to attack places in Jilin province in Manchuria and in Zhejiang province and Jiangxi province, right? 浙江省の江西省。
もっと言うの
Thank you. All right. Well, at this point, I would like to open it up to working journalists. If there are any working journalists who have any questions for our guests, please raise your hand. And when I call on you, please come to this microphone here, give your name and affiliation, and then ask your questions. And I see a working journalist right here in front, please.
Singapore Press Holding here. I would like to know that why they start this. Of course, just now they explained the reason. Can I know more about background and when starting, how many people and how they increase these people and what actually they want from Prime Minister Abe?
だから裁判の請求ね、請求の趣旨をなぜそんなたくさんの外国人が
The allegations filed is to the court to declare that his visit was unconstitutional. And the second one is to stop any future visit, injunction. And also the request for damages, recover of damages resulted on plaintiffs. Yeah, 10,000 yen for each. Because Japanese court does not allow any constitutional suit without damages. You know, we have to prove that there was some damages. Otherwise, the court will not get into the case. So this is a long history of Japanese court avoiding constitutional judgment.
And one other part of that question, which I don't think we've answered yet, is what's the genesis of this? How did it come? Where did it come from exactly? So we know that Prime Minister Abe visited in December 2013. Where did this idea come? Oh, well, let's do a lawsuit in Japanese courts about this. How did that begin?
The Prime Minister's visits have been challenged several times. First, Nakasone's visit was filed, the lawsuit was filed, and also Koizumi's visit was challenged. But in both cases, court said the visit was unconstitutional, but plaintiffs have no right to sue, to win, you know, because there was no damages proved. Those are past two cases. And we filed a similar case, but we think that this time situation is quite different. Abe, Prime Minister, is going towards the militaristic and totalitarianistic policy. And this Yasukuni Shrine is very important for his policy. While he is preparing for the war, he needs Yasukuni Shrine to motivate Japanese people to devote in war, contribute themselves to the country. This Yasukuni Shrine, the philosophy is for people to die for the nation, and then they will be gods, worshipped by Prime Minister and Emperor. Presently, Emperor does not go to Yasukuni Shrine, but in the past, the Emperor's visit was the most important part. And now, still many people are requesting for worship by Emperor, so that Yasukuni's theology will be completed by the worship of the Emperor. Because even, anyone who died in the war for the nation will become gods and worshipped by even Prime Minister or Emperor. This is a whole scheme of motivating people to war. So this Yasukuni Shrine was the militaristic shrine, and now still has the same nature.
Can I clarify one factual point to make sure my understanding was correct? In both the previous cases, the Nakasone case and the Koizumi case, the courts ruled clearly that the visits were unconstitutional under the separation for church and state. However, no damages would be given because the plaintiffs had no standing to receive damages. That was the ruling in both cases.
In the past two cases, they didn't request for declaration by the court to declare unconstitutional, but they said in the reason that visits were unconstitutional. This time we asked the court to declare unconstitutional.
In the judgment, but it wasn't a formal declaration. Okay, I understand. Questions? Now I think I can open it up to anybody. Yes, Fuyuko.
Fuyuko Nishisato from German television ZDF. I want to ask the Chinese guests, the big gap we feel, Mr. Abe and his supporter would say this is like an internal matter, and opposition from China is a sort of interference of the domestic matter. But Chinese feel hurting by this behavior of present Prime Minister of Japan visiting Yasukuni Shrine, where all those war criminals and also vicious, atrocious Japanese are enshrined as a god. So would you please explain us this gap between ordinary Japanese feel and Chinese, who particularly have a very painful memory of the wartime Japan?
If I may refine that into two questions that I see. I think there's two questions. One is, can you express your feelings about this case? And second of all, why do you think Chinese people should be getting involved in declaring whether or not something is unconstitutional in Japan?
Mm. 中国人对这个日本首相参拜靖国神社确实是特别气愤。那么这一次的原告当中，363个人当中有254个是中国的原告，那么包括了香港15个，台湾1个。
这个不要讲
那么这个也可以说明那么主要呢就是中国人在这个二战当中，这个受日军的侵害呢，这个是特别深。像我自己调查过的，亲自从2002年开始一直调查。那么在
什么地方调查？
浙江的丽水，42年至44年，关于这个属域攻击死掉就是3222人。在浙江的云和，42年至45年，死亡了是1007个人。那么
Chinese people get really angry at visits by to Yasukuni Shrine by Japanese statesmen like Japanese national leaders like Prime Minister, because we suffered a great deal during the war. of Japanese aggression. I did some research in the biological warfare victimization in my province. In one place which is called Lishui, there was an airport during the wartime, and from 1942 to 1944, 3,222 people got infected with the plague and died. And in another place next to, it's called Yunhe, which is the provincial capital, provincial government of Zhejiang province took refuge or exiled to this small town which is called Yunhe. There, 1,007 people died of plague.
所以呢，这个战争给中国人带来的这种心理的恐惧，我觉得呢，跟日本人在二战当中作为日本人民的话呢，对于战争的话呢，也是一样的。就像昨天新通过了新安保法，日本的2万名学生，这个在众议院门口连夜举行集会，这个恐怕战争的到来是一样的心情。
I don't think the terror and the misery of the war have ever been forgotten by the Chinese people. I think it's the same situation in Japan. Just see what the Japanese people's response to a resolution, new 安保的なんというかさね英語で security bill was forcibly introduced, passed, yeah, and how the Japanese peoples responded to this event. I think the Japanese people also suffered during the wartime. They will understand our feelings.
所以世界各国爱好和平的人们，不仅是中国人，日本人，对于安倍参拜靖国神社也好，通过新的安保法也好，都感觉到会有战争的阴影而到来，所以说都感到特别的害怕和气愤。
Yeah, so the new people get really suspicious and can smell something like a war is going to happen again when the new security bill is passed or endorsed and passed with force, with a lot of political pressure and force.
Speaking as a lawyer, and you are a lawyer by profession, Mr. Rowe. Yes, Rowe Xian. Do you find it, from a legal point of view, do you find it odd for a Chinese person to be involved, Chinese citizen to be involved in a case that would declare something unconstitutional in Japan?
他说：“你作为一个中国的律师，你觉得是不是蛮古怪的？参加日本的一个诉讼，然后他说你认为这是违反宪法的，它里面有一点这种。”
因为我作为中国律师参加这个作为原告，我觉得
中国的法治的进步也很有启发。
我觉得这个是顺理成章的，主要是我从2002年开始一直从事细菌战的这个诉讼，跟王雪一起。那么这一次王雪然后一起叫我们参加这个原告，那么我们觉得呢，就是这个也是。像阻止这个，
他说是，就是说是违反宪法的这么一个诉讼，你是不是觉得很奇怪？作为一个律师，职业律师来讲，还是说这个很当然，用不到讲很多，你觉得很正常吗？还是怎么样？
因为我觉得这个根据日本宪法前言的第2款规定，它就是已经确认全世界的国民都有平等的免除恐怖与贫困，和平的生存的权利。那么所以说呢，我们觉得呢，这个根据日本宪法的话呢，我们也是可以来参加这个诉讼，而且呢，我们觉得也是很有意义的。
I think this is according to the Japanese Constitution， 我知道的 the second item， it's logical and totally logical and rational to file the lawsuit because I think it's deviate. The visit to Yasukuni Shrine is a deviation of Japanese constitution.
Ms. Wang, do you have any comments of your own that you want to add?
I think I should add something. One of the claim by the plaintiff side is for Yasukuni Shrine to stop accepting official visits by Japanese leaders, like Prime Minister, right?
This is one characteristic of our lawsuit. We have filed a lawsuit against the Yasukuni Shrine also, because Yasukuni Shrine has cooperated with the government or Prime Minister Abe to do this and to do this unconstitutional act. And they have cooperated closely in the past also in enshrining procedures. The Japanese government and the Yasukuni Shrine cooperated each other to decide who would be enshrined and so forth. So very close relationships. And our allegation is that after Koizumi lawsuit, there were a lot of materials, governmental materials, published by the National Diet Library, which shows how close government and Yasukuni Shrine had various activities. So we characterize this as a different lawsuit from the past ones. We are going to show that.
Yeah, may I say, I'm one of the plaintiffs. I think I had a lawsuit in Japan because I'm from a biological warfare attacked background, victim's background. But for this lawsuit, I think for me it's totally new experience, because I think in this lawsuit we work together, people from different countries and areas. We work also with the Japanese people, so on the same stand and share the same point of view. So I think it's a very wonderful experience for me, particularly to work with the Japanese people. And I also think Yasukuni official visits by Japanese leaders, political leaders, do cause pains to the Chinese people today. I don't think most of the Chinese people can accept that. This is a fact. So some people in Japan can't understand why the Chinese people can't accept that. But the fact is that we can't accept that. So as a matter of fact, it's causing pain to the Chinese people. Because just think, the war criminals of Unit 731 are also there in the Yasukuni Shrine. And they have never been executed for what they did during the wartime, even at the Tokyo trial. That's why I think it's a wonderful experience for me to work with the Japanese people who share the same view with us, with the Chinese people. I think it's the hope. It shows it's from the strength of the peace, and it makes me feel hopeful for the relationship, for the friendship between the Chinese people and Japanese people. We never want to have the war with Japan again. That's my feeling, as what I want to say as a plaintiff of the lawsuit.
Okay, we still have plenty of time for questions. Okay, first I see Mr. Fujita, and then that gentleman and this gentleman.
My name is Hiro Kujita, formerly editor-writer at the Kokumin Shimbun, founded by Tokutomi Soho back in 1890. And I'm one of the faithful visitors of Yasukuni Shrine. My question is that this move against Prime Minister's visit to Yasukuni Shrine is, for me, rather recent phenomenon. And after Miki or Yasukuni administration. And prime ministers prior to them visited Yasukuni Shrine. There is no complaint from China. So that was 1985. Prime Minister Nakasone visited Yasukuni Shrine as an official capacity. That's about 40 years after the end of the war. So what happened to that 40 years after the war until Nakasone administration? No, there's no complaint from China. So how would you explain that?
だからなぜ40年を経ってからそう先生Sorry.
From China, you mean?
From China, for example.
I think the nature of Yasukuni Shrine was not fully recognized yet, I think, in China.
How about in Japan? There's no complaint.
In Japan, there were lawsuits. You mean complaint? We had a lawsuit against Nakasone's visit. Before that? Before that, the just happened. Nobody has filed. That's the only reason. There were many people protesting against it, but no lawsuit have been filed. That's.
From my own knowledge of the issue, wasn't it around 1978 that the priests of Yasukuni Shrine enshrined the number of Class A war criminals?
Yeah.
And that this basically changed the opinion of a lot of people about the issue?
That's one factor. The enshrinement of Class A war criminals was a very big factor to have more protests. But without enshrining Class A criminals, the many people have been claiming against the violation of separation of church and state. But no lawsuit have been filed there.
Thank you. My name is Tatsuro Hanada. I'm professor of Waseda University in Tokyo. I'd like to confirm one point again. I understand your motivation of this action to the court. And you are putting the issue of Prime Minister Abe's visit at Yasukuni Shrine in the center. May I ask you, perhaps, to lawyer Lou Xian, why do you request a judgment of the court to stop the visit of Prime Minister Abe at Yasukuni Shrine instead of requesting the court to instead of requesting to recover the damage of victims by Japanese troop 731, instead of recovering the damage of the victim, you are requesting to stop the visit, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at Yasukuni Shrine. Why? don't you request at first to recover
Yes.
the victim's damage?
Yes, we did that. We did that. We filed the lawsuit in 1997, and in 2002, the Tokyo District Court, for the first time in history, confirmed that the Japanese army used biological weapons in China extensively and caused a lot of people's deaths. But we appealed, but rejected compensation and apology. And in 2007, the Tokyo Supreme Court also rejected our appeal, but maintained the confirmation by the lower courts. So we did that. Thank you so much. 他说为什么你们不叫日本人阿贝赔偿？赔偿他就不会参表经过审社了。我说我们已经打过了这个官司。
一応好みでです。那須先生に債権戦に関してちょっと一つ聞きたいですが、はい、よく言われましたがアメリカは戦後731部隊とある取引によって731部隊長石井部隊長をはじめとする債権戦の方々の戦争犯罪を追及しなかった代わりにアメリカはいろいろデータとか資料とかアメリカに持ち帰りましたので先生の研究の中でそういう取引確実な証拠とか囲みましたか
Mistaken, the question was the U.S. government's use of the research of 731 after the war?
No, that was a deal between Unit 731 and the U.S., the Americans.
Okay. So
the data for immunity. The Chinese media just asked the question, based on your research, is there a deal, whether there is really a deal between the Americans and the Unit 731? So data for immunity, data for maybe human experimentations for immunity. だからそれ確実ですかって。
アメリカの、日本の、占領軍とそれからアメリカ本国とのいくつかの電報が行き交ってるそのことに関してそれで電報で何文書がこう往復するでしょでその中に文章としては証拠は残さないけれども責任を問わないというような内容の電報がいくつか、あります。
There are documents which are telegraphs between Washington and Tokyo. The contents are about immunity and data exchange for immunity. But there's no official document for granting immunity.
それはもうそっちの方面を、研究、した方がもうちゃんと資料集として、発行しています。
Researchers who's in this field has already made a compilation of documents and published in Japan. それだから、そうね。
それは間違いないですよ。
だから、they are also the U.S. government, the U.S. National Archive the U.S. government has declassified millions of pages of documents on Japanese war crimes, and there are thousands of pages of documents on the deal, just we talked about, And there are full investigation reports by the investigators sent by Washington to Japan to investigate on Japanese biological warfare, and kept in National Archives in Maryland in the United States. だから4人の調査官のね調査報告はアメリカの公文書館にあるから。さっき言った。言った。
Okay, we still have time for one or possibly two more questions. Yes.
Hello, thank you. My name is Louis Krause. I'm here in Japan this summer, writing for the Japan Subculture Research Center. I'm here from Baltimore. I'm a college student. I wanted to ask just a little bit more for our Chinese guests about the new security legislation. And a lot of people who have gave talks here opposing the bill say that part of the reason that Abe wants to pass this bill is because he refuses to acknowledge or be remorseful about the actions during World War II. So I was just wondering if you agree with that and you think that, are you worried at all that there will be, there will soon be like, military conflicts between Japan and China?
他说，很多人讲通过现在新安保法，就是说明安倍对过去战争不反省。那么他说，你们是不是觉得这个东西是好像很危险，也许可能会将来引起中国跟日本之间的战争？但是你可以讲，至少这是一个战争的准备吧，一步一步的。
是的，他叫我答。
你答我都可以，你可以答。就刚才我讲这个。
我想，安倍通过新安保法，不仅是中国人会认为这个是走向战争的一步，而且呢是日本很多人也是这么认为，包括日本的青年也是感觉到这个要走向战争了，好像要去到海外当兵了。那么所以说呢，这个是世界各国爱好和平的人的一个共同的担忧和这个担心。
I think we are really worried, and then this worry is shared by the Chinese people and the Japanese people. We think it's an important step, legal step towards a preparation of official preparation for the war in the future, and people get worried. 我说这是就是说大家都共同的一种担忧，然后这是通向战争、准备战争的重要的一步。
那么，我再补充一点啊，其实呢，就是说呢，我觉得呢，就是我们参加这个战争赔偿以来呢，就是我们对日本政府的这个态度呢，一直是比较担忧。他就是说，像日本是一个所谓的法治社会，那么在慰安妇、劳工、西京站诉讼、化学武器这些诉讼当中呢，日本法院都判决，这个事实都存在的，但是日本政府呢，一直就是不赔礼、不道歉、不赔偿。那么现在又加上通过安倍参拜靖国神社和改了这个新的安保法，所以说我们感觉到呢，好像是一步一步的往战争方向去走了。
One of the reasons we are worried about, the passing of with the force of the new security bill, is because many Chinese victims, war victims like comfort women, sexual slavery system victims, and forced labor slavery systems victims, and also chemical and biological warfare victims, had a lawsuit in Japan demanding compensation. The Japanese courts, the verdict given by the Japanese courts confirmed the claims, the victimizations by the victims, but denying their demand for compensation and apology. But at the same, so you know, I think most of Chinese people do not like the verdicts. They can't accept that, but they have to accept that because they are given the verdicts. Now, the new security bill has been passed, and I think we have been more worried. We think it's a step forward towards the war in the future.
Well, is there anybody who wants to a last question other than Mr. Fujita? All right, we have just about 2 minutes, so can it be short? That doesn't look like a yes. If it's short, it's okay.
I agree with you that I'm not happy with the verdict. But anyway, Sensei, could you clarify the verdict? Why is the Prime Minister Yasukuni is unconstitutional?
Unconstitutional?
Yeah, you said Prime Minister Yasukuni is unconstitutional. That's the verdict, right?
Yeah.
Could you explain what is the grounding for the unconstitutionality of the Prime Minister Yasukuni? Right? You said separation, state and religion.
That's right.
But in America, for example, the president swear and put the hands on the Bible.
Yeah, that is practice. They say that is a practice before the Constitution, you know, since before the Constitution. And if non-Christians will become the president, they can do the other things. I think that's their logic. But that's quite different, you know. Prime Minister going to the shrine and worship war dead as gods. This is very religious. Religious place, religious conduct. So very, very different. Just swearing.
All right. Well, we are just about up, but there is one last question I do have for Mr. Kimura before we wrap up. When should we expect the judgment to come out from the district court? So when will we be writing this story for all of us?
We would like to do the legal activities for 1 year or more, but court seems to be go to the judgment maybe within a half year. I feel I just guess, you know.
So probably around the end of this year, beginning of next year would be your estimation?
Well, it's difficult to estimate, but the court wants to hurry. Apparently, court is trying to hurry the proceedings.
To shorten the proceedings.
Okay. Well, so two of our guests here have come all the way from China for this press conference, of course, also for the lawsuit which brought them here. So let's give them a warm thank you for coming and explaining to us their activities. And that concludes our event for today. Thank you for coming, and see you all soon.